we could all do with that, right? So I would like to share with you some information about self-care and the reciprocity of self-care this afternoon. We've an hour together. It's a lot to take in. I encourage you, we're going to do some experiential things. I encourage you to really partake, do the strategies with me, because it's the doing that makes the difference and also helps you recognize and understand simple signals and changes within your own body. So I'm McLean, the Director of Professional Development at Pure Edge, and I've been working with Palm Beach, I think it's 4 years now. So our partnership goes back a long way, and ideally, I wish I was with you right now. Nothing would give me greater pleasure, but we're lucky we have this format to use and that we can still work and develop together. So I've been with Pure Edge a long time, nearly 7 years now. So using the chat box, which is challenging for me to see also and see my screen, I'll try and jump in. Just tell me, I know there's a lot on, so you don't all need to chat, but just tell me, what do you do? What's your role? It'd be really nice for me to know what is your role within the school district. So if you feel like jumping in the chat box, I'm going to check my timer. Let's do 2 minutes to check in and just send me a message. Send us a message. Let us know who you are. Okay, I see them popping up now. Oh, they go so fast. I can hardly keep up. Okay, IT, psychology, English teacher, risk management, data processor, high school teacher, anatomy teacher, working adult education, bookkeeper. Oh, this is wonderful. So we really have a broad spectrum in terms of education, right? And I think when you're talking about something about the reciprocity of self-care, middle school, high school biology, taking care of a wheelchair-bound student. Wow, interesting and challenging. Behavioural specialist, manager, medical academy teacher, middle school. So as I was saying, the more diverse the group of people, I think the more interesting the discussion after this session, and also the more capacity you have to do what we like to call at Pure Edge, and that's create something called a culture of care, where you, to all intents and purposes, hold each other accountable for taking care of yourself, for taking time to prioritize that, for checking in with each other and saying, how are things with you, right? So thank you for doing that. In case this is your first time joining one of our sessions, we are a private operating foundation. And so really what that means for you as you join us today is that we like to donate our services to our partner school districts and to other like-minded organisations. So there's no charge for our professional development sessions or for the resources that we provide. So because this is about self-care, I wanted to have a little bit of fun with our welcome and just see, when I put up the next slide, I'd like you to share in the chat box. So use a number, because you'll see each one of the images is number. Which of the following images accurately reflects how you are feeling right now? Okay, so here we go. Here are the images, 1 through 10. And just to give you a bit of a heads up, 1 is for those of you who are like, oh, actually, you caught me off guard. I don't know how I feel right now. I'm not really, I'm just not sure. I'm here, I've arrived, but I'm not sure what's going on with me. So what have we got? 9, 1, 8, 2, 6, 4, 1. There's definitely a few ones out there, definitely quite a few twos as well, which makes me smile because that's usually me. I'm the cheeky one in the Pure Edge group. It's nice to see some of you are delighted to be here. I want to kind of honestly say that in the last 9 to 12 months when we've been hosting our self-care sessions, typically the most common emojis that we see are 6 through 9. And so that's just nice to share with you. If you are in that place today, know that your colleagues across the country, with the year that you've faced in terms of the topsy-turvy world of education, are feeling similar emotions, and so that's a good thing. I'm always excited to see a couple of number 10s pop up on the screen. Nobody's got a 4. There's nobody got their shades on. I thought you had great weather right now in West Palm Beach. What's going on? Maybe I should just stay. In case I didn't say, I'm presenting this afternoon from Houston, Texas, and our summer has just started. All of a sudden, our temperature gauge is creeping up every day, which is okay. I like the sun. Okay, moving on. Let's see what's happening next. So the first thing we're going to do is a strategy, a self-care strategy called the Mindful Minute. So what I'd like you to do is, I know you can't see the base of my chair, but just sit comfortably in your chair wherever you're at. Rest your hands on your thighs. And as I said at the beginning, please participate. It will make a difference and it will give us some food for conversation, right? Relax your shoulders. If you're somewhere that you feel comfortable to do so, then please close your eyes. Now, during this 1 minute, there's a few things I'd like you to do. First of all, I'd like you to notice your heartbeat. What's your heart doing right now? Now, if you've had a lot going on today, I noticed someone said long day of testing, lots going on. You may notice that your heart rate is pretty fast, and that's okay. But I just want you to notice it. What is it, fast or slow? And where do you feel your heartbeat? Just in your chest, or do you feel it anywhere else? And then the next thing I'd like you to check in with is your breath. What's your breath doing right now? So notice, is it fast or slow? Can you feel your breath all the way into your abdomen, or do you just notice it in your ribs and chest? And then notice your breath at your nostrils. Is it warm or cool? And then finally, just think back to that emoji slide we just looked at. How are you feeling right now? See if you can name how you feel. And by that, I mean, are you tired, curious, excited, hungry, sad, confused, overwhelmed? So what do you notice? What springs to mind when you ask yourself that question? And then just open your eyes and just for a moment, kind of notice how you feel. So that's 1 minute just for you. And when we talk about self care, I always like to say, this word self care, I feel like recently it's been thrown about almost like something you need to add to your to-do list. Please look after your students. Please update your Google apps. Please keep an eye on curriculum. Please do your absenteeism report. Oh, and please fit in your self-care. Like it's almost like a box you have to check. And that's not what I want you to take away from this session. I want you to understand that self-care really begins with observation. We can take great care of ourselves just by taking a few simple moments to notice how we feel. And what that does is already impact our capacity to do the things we want to do. You know, I don't know how often in a year you get sent updates for apps, updates for your computer. I've constantly been told I need to update this, that, and the other. So why do we assume that we as humans don't need updates? Why do we assume that we can carry out our roles as our roles in work, right? As an employee, our roles in caring for others, our role potentially as a parent or a sibling or a son or a daughter that cares for a relative. Why do we assume that we don't need to install a software update? We kind of have this ethos of, I'll just get there. I'll get to Thursday, it'll be fine. If I get to Friday, it'll all be good. If I just make it to the weekend. But actually, that's not what we want. We want to encourage ourselves to be like, whoa, pull on the reins, slow down. I need to take a moment or two just for me. And that could be as simple as just noticing what's going on. So, kind of out of this session today, I want you to experience the practices. And I really want to understand, how does stress impact you in your role in the world of education? And that's really important because educators, like any other caring profession, there's something that we know really deeply, and more research tells us this. In order for you to have an impact on others, which is ultimately what you try to do every single day, anyone, whatever your role is in the world of education, you're trying to have an impact on someone else's life, right? But actually, first and foremost, you have to have an impact on yourself. Yeah. I was hosting a webinar last week and I was saying that when I used to come and visit educators, and sometimes I'd get to be with them in their classroom or in the student support room, in whatever role that was, I'd often say, "Can I see your to-do list? What's your to-do list like? Like how is your workload?" And you don't need me to tell you that workload is immense because you wear so many hats. But what used to really intrigue me was how often, a huge percent of time, that you were never on your to-do list. I very rarely looked at it. I would be like, oh, there's 10 things to do, 20 things to do, and your own name not even mentioned. So I want you to leave today's session thinking about, as you prioritize everything else in your life, you also need to prioritize you, right? Really, you should always be on the top 3 items in your to-do list. If you're not first, you should certainly be second or third, right? And so when you get into a habit of doing that, you're already prioritizing you and how important you are to everything else that goes on around you. Now, the strategies we use are simple yet effective. We're going to be looking today at breathing, moving, and resting strategies. Now, why is self care so important? Well, it's because in our roles in the world of education, we want to be responsive versus reactive. To be reactive, it's exhausting. It's really tiring for the human body. It's really tiring for our brain. And not only that, when we're reactionary, we tend to ruminate a lot. We tend to be like, if I shouldn't have said this and maybe I hadn't have done that, I wish I'd have said this, I wish I had approached it that way. You're using up 50% of your brain's good capacity to do its job, ruminating about the ifs, the ands, the could haves, the would haves, and the should haves, right? And so what that starts to do is really wear you down. That's when you get that flash up on the screen that says software update required now, and you're like, nah, I'll install it tonight. But actually, it's like, no, you need to do it now. And you're like, well, actually, can I install it tomorrow? No, now, right? And so it's recognizing that by doing simple breathe, move, rest strategies. I'd like you to try and use nasal breathing throughout our session together today, because nasal breathing actually is way more impactful in the body. Does it matter how we breathe? Well, yes, it does, right? Actually, it does. More research and more studies tell us that breathing through our nose has a much more positive impact on us, on our parasympathetic nervous system, on the amount of oxygen we get into our body. Now, that's important because oxygen is fuel for our brain. So when our brain lacks oxygen because we breathe too fast or we breathe through our mouths, it gets really fatigued and tired. And we need to top that up by doing nasal breathing. Yeah. I mean, the breath is such a powerful thing, but how often do you go to bed at night and wake up in the morning and go, yay, well done me, I was breathing all night? Not so much, right? We tend to really only notice our breath when we run out of it. So, run a flight of stairs or run to catch the bus or the train, and you're like, oh, man, I need to go to the gym. What is wrong with me? So, how we breathe does matter. And breathing poorly can negatively impact us. So, I also want you to think about, when you're feeling reactive versus responsive, what does your breath do? What do you notice? Start to look at it and see any little observations that you can make. So we're going to do a strategy now called starfish breathing, or take 5. And this is a strategy that allows us to really tap into a deep nasal breath. We also slow down the breath, and we also use focus. And gaze is helpful because gaze stops the mind getting distracted. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I sit down to do something and say, I just need a moment, all of a sudden my mind decides it would like to make a shopping list. It's like, oh, what are we having for tea tonight? Maybe we need to stop at the supermarket. We have to pick up, we have to do that. Oh, let's get such and such, and all of a sudden my brain is off having a wee journey of its own that I didn't intend to go on. So using the eyes helps focus the brain a little bit. And please know that when your brain takes a journey like that, hey, it's completely normal. Our brains were designed to try and get us on task, but also to try and get us off task. So take one hand and just spread your fingers gently like this. You'll notice I've lifted my hand slightly. That's just for my camera. You don't need to raise it quite so high. And take your index finger and place it at the bottom of your thumb. And we're just going to breathe in and out through the nose, going all the way around the hand and all the way back again. And once you sort of get in your rhythm, don't look at me, try to look at your own hand as opposed to looking at the screen. So inhale, take the index finger to the top of the thumb and exhale down the other side. Now actually touch your hand. Inhale to the top of the index finger. Exhale down the other side. Inhale to the top of the middle finger. Exhale down the other side. Inhale to the top of the index finger. Exhale, keep watching what's going on down the other side. Inhale to the top of the little finger and exhale down the outside. Let's go back the way we came. Inhale to the top of the little finger. Exhale down the other side. Breathe in. Move the finger to the top of the index finger and breathe out. Slowly down the side. Breathe in to the top of the middle finger. Breathe out down the other side.
Hey.
Breathe in to the top of the index finger. Breathe out down the other side. Can I ask whoever's chatting to go on mute? Thank you. Inhale to the top of the thumb and exhale down the other side.
I can't even think of.
And then just release your hand.
Yeah, because Ruben over here.
And for a moment, notice how you feel.
Probably so. Probably the DJ or something, because that's the only person I can really think of that done been over there. And actually, it might even be upstairs, because I know him and
to have people on mute.
And his is
I can only hear somebody's. If the people who are chatting could go on mute, I can't hear anything.
Yes, she's muted now. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. I just realized that probably no one could hear me. Okay, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. So a simple strategy designed to help us reset, to help us focus, to help us become more aware, right? And we can use it if we're feeling reactive versus responsive. So, you know, if we're going to talk about stress and we're going to talk about the reciprocity of self-care, then what actually is stress? And what causes us as humans to be stressed? Sorry, I am picking up some conversation. If everybody could put themselves on mute. So stress is something that causes us to be upset or anxious or overwhelmed. And the stressor is the thing that causes that. Now, what's really interesting to note is that how we respond or react to stress is different. So I might respond in one way and you might respond in another way. And also the things that cause us stress can also be different. You know, I might say, oh, traffic jams and traffic really cause me to be stressed. And you might say, oh, no, not at all. That doesn't bother me. I get stressed out by, you know, crowds. Or so we all are very different and very unique in the way that we respond to stress and to stressors. So I want you to take a little minute. Oh, sorry. And I want you to, you can put this in the chat box. That might be fun. We could do this for a minute. So when you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed and stressed, where do you feel stress in your body? Where do you notice stress? So for me, that's going to be in my tummy. Yeah, look at that. We've got neck, head and chest, neck and shoulders, stomach, in the neck, behind the eyes. That's very common, this sort of feeling that the eyes get really fatigued. You know, tension, headaches are a thing. Sinuses, wow, that doesn't surprise me that that area in the head can get inflamed. Um, I get it in my abdomen. I get this knot in my stomach that I really struggle with. And so, make no mistake about it, you know, stress does impact us. You can actually feel it. So, if I just say that if I'm feeling really stressed, this is what happens in my body. Now, I'm exaggerating now, but everything in the human body contracts and constricts. So that's all the muscles, all the tendons, all the tissues, they all tighten and shorten. So that sensation that you feel in your shoulders and your neck and your head and behind your eyes and your sinuses, it's real. It's actually happening. It's not some sensation that you're imagining, right? Make no mistake about it. Stress is an energy vampire. You can get 8 hours of great sleep. But if the first 2 hours of your day are very stressful and you're dealing with difficult conversations or putting out fires or feeling under pressure to get things done, by 11 o'clock, you're there going, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me today. My get up and go, got up and went, right? And so this is normal. And we also know that stress impacts our ability to make decisions and plan and choices. So, you know, nobody in the history of ever, when they were feeling highly stressed, overwhelmed, and anxious, opened the fridge, went to the fridge and pulled out a salad. Meh, meh. No, that's not what you want when you're stressed and anxious. No, you want something that's going to be comforting. You want your favorite burger or milkshake, chips or chocolate. Chocolate's my thing, cookies, right? We're looking for instant gratification, something that's going to make us feel better. Does it take your stress away? No, it doesn't. Does it make you feel better in the instant? Yes, possibly does, right? Going to your favorite pizza joint. I mean, what's not to love about that? So yes, those things that you feel are real. They are happening. They are sensations that you're experiencing. But I think it's important to note, and you can have a think about this, and we can also use the Q&A box, that we feel joy in our body too. We get a sensation, we get signals when we're happy, when we're experiencing joy. So for me, I quite often notice that even just doing this presentation and reading out the piece joy, I start to feel lighter and brighter, whereas stress and anxiety make me heavy, a bit lethargic and tired. So if you want to put in the chat box, have you ever thought about that, where you feel joy in your body? For a lot of us, it's an overall sensation. People often say their chest, their heart, their head. So yeah, where do you feel joy in your body? And so what we're trying to do here, yeah, butterflies, heart, 100% face and head, definitely chest, mouth smiling, right? There's this change in the face, so true in your stomach. Pardon me, heart, head and face. So what we're trying to just sort of acknowledge here as we talk about self-care is that all these sensations that you feel in your body, that's your body sending you a signal. And what we're trying to do by acknowledging self care is start to listen to these signals that we are given and then act on them, right? So if you feel these stressful signals coming up, it's a moment to say, whoa, I need to reboot. I need to take a moment. I need to just close the door, maybe do a quick strategy, just shut my eyes for a minute, write something down, get some thoughts out of my head, whatever that may be, or noticing joy and really embracing it, being like, oh my goodness, I feel great today. Why do I feel so good? What is going on with me? What has changed my behavior? And also absorbing that, because that's a good and a positive for us. We want those things. Now, it's really important that I note that not all stress is bad stress, right? There's good stress in life too. You know, a lot of stressful situations drive us to work for positive change. They motivate us to take action. They help us get a job done. Like you know, we've got the stress of a goal, but we want it to be a great outcome. It helps us enhance our performance. Athletes use it all the time. But the stress that I'm talking about is the one of where this curve changes. So basically, we've got good stress, good stress, good stress to here. And then the needle changes and we go into what's called detrimental stress. Now that makes us unwell. It weakens our immune system. It tires us. It impairs our performance. And that's because of the stressors that we face, right now we have a lot going on. The world of education it's been in person, it's been online, it's been a hybrid model, it's in person, so there's been a lot of topsy-turvy, a lot of change. And we're also impacted by a pandemic on top of our day-to-day stressors, right? And that's having a huge impact on us. So what we oftentimes feel is that things can be getting on top of us. The CDC came out and said this is what they've noticed as we've all been dealing with the pandemic over the last year. So it really is impacting us. And make no mistake about it, stress is contagious. Have you ever worked with someone you're worried about, whether that be a student or whether that be a colleague, and you drive home and you're driving home and all you can think about is that person? You're like, oh, what should I do to help them? Should I do this? I wonder, would it be useful to talk to that person? Should I look at these strategies? Who else can I rope in to help, right? That is you taking on that person's stress. So not only as humans do we deal with our own stressors, immediate, our own next, the stressors on the periphery that we can't do anything about, but they still impact us. We also, as humans, absorb other people's stress. And by that token, if we are stressed, other people absorb our stress, right? So let's do something. We're going to do chair sunrise twist. This is a movement strategy. And the reason we're doing a movement strategy is that we want to use the body in a positive way, because that really helps us install new software. So sit comfortably on your chair. I'm going to scoot over here because I think you can see me a little bit better, and just face the screen. I'm going to turn slightly sideways on just so that you can see the shape of my body as I move, but just you keep facing the screen so that you can see. So let's just all go through this together. Inhale, take your arms above your head. And as you exhale, bring your left hand to the outside of the right knee, and your right hand has a couple of options. Number one is to stop on the waist. Number two is to grab the base of the chair. And number three is if you can grab the back of the chair. So choose which one you think feels best for you. And then turn and look right over your right shoulder. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. Draw your tummy in and twist from the center of your body. So inhale and exhale. Slow breath in. Try and use every breath to twist a little bit further. Slow breath out. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. Let's do one more. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, turn to the front. Take your arms up overhead and look up. And breathe out. Let's go the other way. So the right hand to the outside of the left knee, and the hand on the waist, the base of the chair, or maybe even the back of the chair. And notice if the right side is different from the left. And then turn and look right over your shoulder. And let's just settle in for a couple of breaths. Inhale and exhale. Relax the shoulders, the face, and the jaw. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Take your arms over your head. Look up at the ceiling. Relax the neck. And exhale, bring your hands down onto your legs. And for a moment, just notice how you feel. Just observe any sensations in your body. It's at moments like this that you can start to hear and see the signals that your body is sending you. We become more aware of our stress, of ourselves, sorry. So when I talk about stress, the stress I'm really talking about, and It affects us all, but definitely affects people in caring and nurturing and supportive roles. The stress I'm talking about is something called allostatic load. And so, allostatic load is a stress that we absorb into our body. And this little guy with his backpack on, it really kind of sums that up for us. So, what happens is as we go through our day-to-day life, as things happen, as we face stresses and anxieties and woes, we absorb them into our body, into our skin, into our hair, into our muscles, into our joints, our ligaments, our tendons. So it goes back to what you were all telling me. You felt it in your shoulders, you feel it in your neck, in your stomach. Why? Because you're actually physically absorbing it. So allostatic load is the stress that we absorb into our body. And the more we absorb stress, the more it causes wear and tear on the human body. So, this guy with the backpack, if we think about it this way, the best way to think about allostatic load is imagine I gave you a backpack and said, put that on, and your backpack's completely empty, right? There's nothing on it, nothing in it at all. I zip it up and I say to you, do me a favor, run 2 flights of stairs or walk. It's fine. You don't need to run. Climb to the top of 2 flights of stairs, turn around and come back down. And you're like, okay, Jill, not sure why I'm doing this, but I'll do it. So you do. You climb 2 flights of stairs and then you come back down again. And I say, how are you doing? You're like, yeah, that was okay. I don't feel too bad. And I say, okay, well, we're going to do the same strategy, but you're going to put all your allostatic load in there. So you put in, whatever is going on with you, we put it in there and it weighs about 360 pounds. Whoa. Whew. You're like, okay, backpack's a little heavy. And I'm like, climb the flight of stairs, 2 flights of stairs to the top, turn around, come back down. So that flight of stairs that at once, without all the other things going on in your life, was so simple, is now a really challenging exercise. You have to hold on to the banister. You get to the top of the first flight. You're quite tired. You're not sure, maybe will you make it to the top? Your knees are getting sore, your lower back hurts, your shoulders are tired from carrying the weight. You get to the top, you want to rest at the top, but I'm like, no, you got to come back down. So you slowly come back down, you rest as on the way down a few times and you make it back down. You're like, holy smokes, Jill, what was that all about? That is us doing our day-to-day life, carrying around the excess stress, the allostatic load that causes the wear and tear in our body. It makes even the simplest tasks tiring, right? It makes the things that should be easy for us to do difficult to do. Now, I don't want this presentation to be all sort of doom and gloom and stress is this and that and it's bad for us. I actually want it to be the opposite. Here's what's incredible. Yes, we absorb stress. Yes, allostatic load causes wear and tear on the human body. But here's what's amazing. When you start to take care of yourself, when you start to do simple strategies, and that can be any strategy that you choose. We at Pure Edge use breathe, move, rest, but you might have something that resonates with you, right? When you start to do these strategies, you actually dissipate allostatic load. Now, breath and movement have a huge impact on allostatic load. Studies and research are telling us that when you breathe and move with the body simultaneously, you actually help push out the allostatic load that sits in your body. So that sunrise chair twist that we just did just took 150 pounds out of your backpack. Now, this is a really interesting slide, and I know Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. It wasn't stress that impacted or caused his death. But what the autopsy told us, and what we're learning more and more from autopsies, is the impact that stress has on the human body. It shows up in your heart, your liver, your kidney, your lungs. So your main organs show signs of stress. That's the allostatic load. And while that may sound like bad news, actually what you want to be doing is saying, okay, today was stressful, but I acknowledge that and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to prioritize my self-care. I'm in the top 3 on my to-do list, and I'm going to do some simple strategies just to help dissipate that allostatic load. So I absorbed it for a little while, but then I did something about it, right? I took it on board for a little while, but then I did something about it. So we're never getting to the state that the allostatic load backpack gets so full that it's causing damage, long-term damage. Now, what we know about self-care and simple strategies for self-care is that they're really good for us, not only our body, but they're really good for our brain. And we talk about it as being a bubble bath for your brain. So when you do something good for you to help alleviate stress, your brain goes, oh my goodness, it's like a bubble bath for your brain. It's like, oh, this is wonderful. And so what does your brain do? Well, when your brain feels so good, it creates more neurochemicals, more neurotransmitters. Your mood improves, your memory improves, and the amount of endorphins you make increases. So endorphins are the hormone that make us feel good, right? If you're on holiday, do you remember doing that, going on holiday? If you're on holiday on a beach, you know, somewhere in Florida, for example, with your pina colada, watching the sun go down, and you're like, ah, this is the best. That's endorphins that you feel in your body. Neurochemicals and neurotransmitters, they're what help us focus, function, problem solve, plan, decision make. So we really need these things. So if you think about that from your own perspective, but also think about it from your young learner's perspective, imagine we're filling their brains, giving them a bubble bath for their brains, right? So what we know that is so important, and you can see now, why it is so essential for you to be the best version of you, why it's so important for you to put your self-care in the top 3 in the to-do list. Because when you feel good, when you're physically and emotionally well, when your cup is full, then you're much better placed to cope, right? You can develop better relationships, you've better understanding, your brain functions better, you can problem solve and decision make, and you can support your community. But when we're not taking care of ourselves, when we're hanging out in that react more than response, then we know the CDC tells us that being in that state of react, being where we're angrier, and you know, they've said, the CDC have come out and said since the pandemic that we're noticing that people's patience is wearing thin. So we're responding quicker, we're angrier quicker, we're upset quicker, right? And so being in that state has a negative impact on our health and well-being, and we want to avoid that at all costs. We also find that when we have this negative impact and we're feeling anxious and overwhelmed, then our compassion or our capacity for compassion and empathy goes out the window. We have what's called compassion fatigue. Have you ever had that? Or maybe experienced it in this way? Let me see if I say it this way. You know, somebody's maybe come to you and said, oh, they flump down in the chair and say, you never guess what, Jill, this is going on with me. I've got this, I've got that. And you know, the dog's got a sore leg and there's a leak in the roof, and you know, I've got 4 extra classes this week and I have to do this with the kids after school, and they have a lot going on, and it's clearly causing them anxiety. And usually what we do as humans, certainly in a kind of nurturing capacity, is that we go, oh no, is there anything I can do to help? Like, can I ease your load, or could I share something with you? Can we car share? Can we do this? Right? We try to problem solve. Instead, what we're seeing is that we're going, are you kidding me? Do you know what's going on with me right now? Have you seen my workload? Have you seen what's going on at home? Do you know what I'm dealing with? Right? And so we're finding it difficult to have compassion for others because our backpack is so heavy. Our allostatic load has increased so much. So let's do something. Let's do something to give our brain a bubble bath, right? To improve our brain's capacity and also to dissipate some allostatic load. So stand up. And this is called recharge sequence. And that's exactly what it does. It recharges us, right? So if you want to just stand facing the screen, I'm just going to move my chair out the way. I'll turn slightly sideways, but just face me. And your feet are hip distance apart and your hands are by your side. So everybody on your feet, let's do this together. Let's try and change what's going on mentally and physically. So the hands are by your side, and we're going to use this nasal breath. So inhale, take your arms up and look up at the ceiling. And then exhale, we're going to fold down towards the floor. Yay, it's nice to see you all up and about. So place your hands either on your knees, or you can place your hands on your shins, but bend your knees a lot, right? You don't have to have straight legs. Or if you're capable, you know, if your backs of your legs will let you, that's your hamstrings, you can go all the way to the floor. Let your head relax. And then inhale, place your hands on your shins, lift your head up. So notice my head is up, my chin is up, my tummy's in, and my shoulders pull back from my ears. I love to say when I'm working with my pre-Ks, peekaboo. And then exhale, bend your knees and fold again towards the floor. Relax your head, or just put your hands on your knees. Now inhale, rise all the way up, look up at the ceiling, straight legs, straight arms, and exhale, take your hands down by your side. Okay, let's do that again. Recharge sequence. Inhale, hands up, look up at the ceiling. Exhale, bend your knees and fold towards the floor, either stopping at your knees, your shins, your feet, or touching the floor. Relax the back of your head completely. Inhale, place your hands on your shins, lift your chin and head, look up. And then exhale, bend the knees a lot and fold again. Inhale, rise all the way up. Look at the ceiling, draw the tummy in. And exhale, relax the hands. One last time. Inhale, hands up, look up. Exhale, bend the knees and fold towards the legs or the floor. Inhale, place the hands on the shins, chin lifts, look up. Draw the tummy in, exhale and fold. Inhale, come all the way up, look up at the ceiling, and exhale, take your hands by your side. And then for a moment, just notice how you feel. Just notice any signals or sensations that you observe in your body. We just took 190 pounds out of your backpack, just like that. So self-care doesn't need to be complicated. It just means taking a little bit of time each day to prioritize your physical and mental well-being. Now, I just want to touch on, and we don't have a lot of time, and the brain's very complicated and super interesting, and a little bit on how stress impacts the brain. So if we just look at the brain in this way, we've got the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. So the prefrontal cortex is here. It's the reasoning, problem solving, planning, decision making part of the brain. And then inside, if I do it this way, this is called the handy model of the brain. So if I make a fist, and this is your brain stem, these four fingers here, this is your prefrontal cortex, reasoning, planning, problem solving part of your brain. And this is a great model to share with kids. And you'll see my thumb here, I tucked it in. That's the amygdala. And the amygdala is responsible for all of the human emotions, right? Everything that we feel, all the feels that we feel are in our amygdala, right? And so we call this a happy brain. But guess what? The human brain doesn't always look like this. When we get anxious, when we get stressed, when we get overwhelmed, when our allostatic load becomes too much, then bam, we flip our lid. We actually flip our lid. So the prefrontal cortex goes offline. Just like when your Wi-Fi goes down or you're trying to get into a Zoom meeting and you just keep getting the wee wheel, connecting, but it's not connecting. Nothing's connecting. The prefrontal cortex goes offline. So who does that mean is in the driving seat of your brain? The thumb, the amygdala. So who's in the driving seat when you flip your lid? Your emotions, all of the human emotions, which is why we become anxious and overwhelmed and confused. It's why we can't focus. And the brain is desperately trying to reconnect, but look, it can't. Prefrontal cortex is offline, amygdala is in the driving seat, and as we say in Scotland, it's running Hally Racket. They can't reconnect. Like, here's what's really incredible about the human brain. So you notice this, you observe the sensations and the signals that the body sends you, and you're like, oh, I've flipped my lid. I feel it, I notice it. So you sit down and you do starfish breath. And here's what happens in your human brain. The nasal breathing, the focusing, the stopping what you're doing. Oh, it allows the prefrontal cortex to reconnect with the amygdala and bring the brain back to its happy place. So the emotions are no longer in control here. The prefrontal cortex, this is executive function. The reasoning, planning, decision-making, problem-solving part of your brain is once again in control. So, you might flip your lid 10 times a day, but come back to here. Flip your lid, come back to here. This is what we call a healthy, response. And this is how you alleviate allostatic load. When we see the detrimental effect on the body, it's when you flip your lid at 10 to 9 in the morning and you're still here at 10 to 9 at night. What you always want to do is help the brain, because oftentimes it can't manage on its own, right? Help the brain get back to a happy place, function, do what you need to do. Something occurs, you flip your lid again, it's okay. You've got all these strategies. You do recharge sequence back to here, flip your lid again. It's okay. You do a mindful minute, right? You get the picture. So we have this capacity to take really good care of ourselves. And so when we talk about this, so this, when we flip our lid, this is the gas pedal on, this is fight or flight. This is the sympathetic nervous system, not good. This is react, high energy, feeling all these uncomfortable feels in the body, unable to concentrate, unable to focus. Here, rest and digest, parasympathetic nervous system, the brake is on. We can see clearly, we can problem solve, we can plan, right? And so what we want to do is have a healthy response system where we can flip our lid and come back to happy place, right? Happy place is also known as homeostasis. And the final piece of the neuroscience jigsaw as we start to close out this session is the vagus nerve. It's the 10th cranial nerve. It's the longest nerve in the human body. And basically, it's how the mind and body connect with one another. You know, we often think that we're mind and body, two separate things, but we're not. We're intrinsically linked. How you treat your mind affects your body, and how you treat your body affects your mind, right? And the vagus nerve is the super highway that connects the two. And it's just like a highway. Here in Houston, we have I-10. Do you guys have I-10 or 610? Anyway, I'm sure you have one of the 10s, 610 or I-10, 4 or 5 lanes each side of the road. And when all those lanes are open and working, the body and the mind are working together and everything's good. But oftentimes there is an accident on the highway, or the police close the road for roadworks and only one lane is open. How does the highway look during rush hour when only one lane is open? So traffic moves, eventually gets where it's going, but it's slow and it's tiring and it's time consuming and it takes 5 times longer than it should. And that's what happens when our vagal tone, our vagus nerve, isn't doing its job. So what's really interesting about the vagus nerve is that we can improve our vagal tone by doing deep nasal breathing exercises. The breath affects the parasympathetic nervous system, which affects the vagus nerve. So imagine, like I said to you, when I get stressed or upset, I feel it in my stomach. So imagine my stomach's like not feeling good. It sends a message via the vagus nerve to my brain and says, hey, I don't feel good. And the brain says, let me check what's going on via the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve touches all of our internal organs, everything, the liver, the kidneys, the heart, the spleen, it's all connected. Goes and has a look around and says, oh no, you're right, stomach, things are not good, but don't worry, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to speak to the pituitary gland, I'm going to change the red blood cell output, I'm going to slow down the heart rate, I've got control. This happens, we don't even know. You can't sit there and be like, I'm improving my vagal tone. You can never feel this vagus nerve and the work that it's doing. It's so subtle, so subliminal, but no, it's going on. And the more we improve vagal tone, the better our body becomes at listening to the signals and rectifying them before they have a long-term lasting negative impact on the body. Kind of cool, huh? So let's do one last strategy in terms of movement. So this is standing half moon. So what I'd like you to do is once again stand up. We're going to really engage the postural muscles of the body. So your feet are hip distance apart, your hands are by your side, you're standing up nice and tall. So come and join me. Inhale your left arm over your head, and exhale, your right hand is on your right leg and you slide it down the outside of the leg and you just lean over to the side. Now you're going to go as far as feels comfortable for you. So you might find you're more comfortable slightly up. Some of you might find you're more comfortable slightly down, but let's hang out here for a couple of breaths. So we are busy dissipating allostatic load. Inhale and exhale. Keep reaching. Feel the stretch in the side body. Feel your postural muscles having to work super hard. This is really difficult, right? This is a big challenge. Take one more breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release the hand. Let's switch sides. Inhale, the right arm comes up. And exhale, lean over to the left side. So try and keep the arm close to the ear, the other hand resting on the outside of the leg. Draw the tummy in. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Draw the tummy in, inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release the hand. And now for a moment, just notice how you feel. Notice any sensations in your body. We have done the great work of improving your vagal tone, of bringing the mind back to homeostasis, right? Happy place, which means we can really function effectively. We know to be true. The science tells us how we think is affected by how we feel. So if we don't feel good, if we don't feel the best version of ourselves, if we feel anxious and overwhelmed, our capacity to think just decreases and decreases and decreases. So let's do the final piece. We're going to do a body scan. If you're somewhere you can lie down, then I'm an advocate. Lie on the floor, lie on a chair, lie down if you can. If not, sit in a chair, but this time you want your back supported. So you want to feel your body supported. You're not sitting upright. Or you can stack your hands, lay them on the desk in front of you and rest your forehead in your hands or the side of your head, right? Whichever feels most comfortable. Take a breath in through your nose, out through your nose, and close your eyes. And just for a moment, notice how you feel. So just join me as I take you through a body scan. I want you to try not to move your body. You're going to stay super still. But as I mention body parts, I want you just to take your attention to that part of your body. So bring your attention to your head and relax your head. Bring your attention to your eyes, your nose, your cheeks, and relax them. Bring your attention to your jaw. Unclench your teeth and let your tongue rest in your mouth. Bring your attention to your neck, your throat, and your chest. And relax your throat, your neck, and your chest. Relax your right shoulder, right bicep, right elbow, and right wrist. Relax the back of the right hand, the palm of the right hand, and the fingers of the right hand. Relax the left shoulder, left bicep, left elbow, and left wrist. Relax the back of the left hand, the palm of the left hand, and the fingers of the left hand. Relax your abdomen and your lower back. Relax your right thigh, right knee, right calf, and right ankle. Relax the top of the right foot, the sole of the right foot, and the toes of the right foot. Relax the left thigh, left calf, left knee, and left ankle. Relax the top of the left foot, the sole of the left foot, and the toes of the left foot. Relax your whole body, but stay aware of your breath. Relax your whole body and just focus on your breath. So just slowly and carefully open your eyes and bring your attention back to the screen. So we've covered a lot in the last 56 minutes. I just put up some takeaways for you to take away from this session. I know that we're able to share the deck with you, so this is also a useful recap. But just remember that we can use simple strategies to decrease allostatic load, to improve our physical and mental well-being, and that not only can we use them to impact us in the moment, but the more we use them, the more we build resilience against stress and allostatic load. If you want to find out more about our resources, then this is our website. They're all free. Our resources are in English and in Spanish, and you can sign up for an account. There's also, we have a partnership with Headspace, who also have a mindfulness and wellness app. In order to access their unique app free of charge, because this is usually about $120 a year, but as our partner, we're offering it to you for free. You have to make sure, so take a screenshot of this screen if you wish. You have to make sure to type in a landing page. So open up something in your browser, Safari, Google Chrome, Word, Windows, go.headspace.com//pure edge. Notice the two E's. This is going to open up a landing page especially for you, for educators. You fill that out with your work email, set up a password, hit send. When you get approved, you then download the app onto your phone or your laptop, your tablet, and you log in using the credentials that Headspace have approved. And that way you bypass the charge. In order to support us in our role, I really would need, or don't need, but I would love for everyone to complete our feedback form. So if you just hold your camera, if you open your camera and hold it at that barcode, it's going to open up a really quick, takes about 2 minutes to do a quick questionnaire. It's just, choice of 1 to 5 on what you thought of the concepts. Or if you can't, if you don't have a camera that will open the questionnaire, then just type in tinyurl.com-04 /-13 SDPBC, and that will also open it. And if you just go ahead and fill that out and submit it, we would be ever so grateful. It's by having feedback and having our feedback analysed that we keep getting funded, and that's the way we give our money back to the school district. So it's very important to us to get your feedback, is what I'm trying to say in a very bad roundabout way. So yes, your feedback really matters to us as an organisation. It helps us continue the work that we are doing. So if you don't have time to do that just now, you could always take a photo of the screen and perhaps do it once the session is over. We have just about 2 minutes left, so I see the Q&A box is open, or the chat box. If any